Insulated plastic hive bodies may be the next cat's meow of beekeeping, but only if the bees accept life inside a plastic shell. Do they? Hello, my name is Brad. My wife and I own Country Road Bees, a small honey business in eastern Nebraska where we produce the finest quality small batch and varietal honeys. Welcome to episode 3 of a multi-part series that follows colony expansion and honey production through an eastern Nebraska season. I am comparing two colonies, one in a wooden hive box and the other in an Anel insulated hive body. If you like a little bit of science with your beekeeping, please like this video, click on the bell to be notified as each new video post, and subscribe to my channel, CRB Honey. The previous episode ended on day 21, and a link is listed in the description section, but you don't need to watch it for this video to make sense. Today I will compare colonies on day 32 and 40. This figure is a simplified model for bee population and expected frames of eggs, larvae, and capped cells. Adult bee populations are just starting to expand on day 32, and there should be 5 to 7 well filled out frames of brood at various stages of development. On day 40, bee populations drop because the bees that came with the package die en masse. The queen has reached her maximum rate of 2,000 eggs per day, but she was still ramping up to that number and not all of them reach maturity. So by May 22nd, the model predicts 36,000 cells filled with brood. Given a frame has 7,000 cells, that would be just over 5 frames, assuming 100% of the cells are filled with brood, which is a false assumption. I set the model to 70% of the cells filled with brood, which is still likely high. At that rate, I expect 7 frames of brood. That's a lot of frames for 20,000 or less bees to keep warm. Fortunately for the bees, the temperatures in May were pretty much average, so keeping the brood warm should not have been that much of a challenge. Blocking out segments that make an appealing, easy to watch video while still trying to be productive at my work is a challenge. The following is a bit choppy, but does convey the important information, which is frames of brood found. The only resources were what the bees could forage. It has been 2 weeks since I gave them sugar syrup. The apple blooms were over, but a large hedgerow of aronia berries were starting to bloom. Neither I nor the landowner observed bees on them, so they must not be a favored forage. Nonetheless, there was plenty of wet nectar and fresh pollen observed. More so in the bottom box than the top, the bees were drawing out comb on the new foundation. Given this was around 11 a.m., the field force would have been out doing their thing. I didn't try and count frames of bees. My focus was perhaps too much on capped brood, but I could tell the population had increased. All frames of brood had bees. There were 2 good frames of capped brood mixed with eggs and larvae in the top box. 2 of the brood frames in the bottom box were well developed, meaning there were 70% or more of the frame as brood, and 2 additional frames less well developed. In total, there were about 5 frames of brood found. Moving on now to the Anel plastic hive body. If you watched the previous video, you know that top box was added about 10 days ago. So I'm not really expecting to see a lot of brood development within it. The bees are starting to fill the drawn comb with a little bit of nectar and some pollen, but there's only the 1 frame of brood in the top box. For the sake of time, I'm going to speed through this bottom box. Suffice to say, I found 5 good solid frames of brood, and it's always a bonus to find the queen. For the Anel hive body system, there was a total of 6 frames of brood, which was just a little bit better than the wooden hive body. So at least for right now, you could definitely conclude that the 2 systems are performing equally. Perhaps the Anel a little bit better. Now we're at day 40, and as a reminder, I'm expecting the adult bee population not to be booming and there to be anywhere from 5 to 7 or more frames of brood, depending on how completely filled out a frame is. My good friend made this hive lifter from literally a pile of his scrap steel, and in all honesty, without it, I would not be in the honey business. It will move both traditional wooden hives and with a different cage, Anel hives. As you can see, there's been a change in venue. I've moved the bees from the apple orchard to their summer location, which is next to a field of alfalfa and eventually other great summer forages. I severely edited my examination of the top box because one, there wasn't much to see, and two, the camera angle was terrible. But there were maybe 2, 3 frames of brood and eggs observed. For reasons that I don't understand, at least while I'm in editing mode in Clipchamp, these clips now are showing up in black and white. If anybody knows what I did or how to fix it, I'd sure appreciate it if you would leave a message in the comment section. This next section of video taught me to either start wearing suspenders or a full bee suit. Unfortunately, you're going to see why. On day 28, there was a frame of brood and eggs on other frames, eggs and larvae in the top box. Now there's 3 solid frames of brood in the top box plus eggs on other box. You'll see me kind of moving frames around. It's dappled light and it was tough to sometimes see the eggs. A general description for brood pattern in the bottom box is that the cap brood was emerging and the bees were starting to backfill uh, several of those spots, several of those cells with either nectar or pollen. However, the queen is busy. She is laying eggs. There's still several frames of cap brood, eggs, larvae in various stages of development. Most of what you see me doing is rearranging the frames just so there are no honey dams forming next to the brood chamber. So I'm moving frames of resources towards the outside. Let's wrap up today's video by revisiting the original hypothesis, and that is that if the bees were not happy, did not like a plastic hive body, we would see faster expansion in the standard wooden Langstroth hive than we would in the Anel system. And that is not at all what we're seeing. Instead, colony size, as judged by frames of brood, is expanding faster in the Anel hive body. While I'm not ready to go so far as to say the Anel system is better, what is being observed does suggest that a similar number of bees is able to support faster spring colony expansion. However, I am ready to get fully on board with the Anel insulated hive system. I'm not expecting a large honey crop from either colony as they were started from packages in April, but some honey should be produced this season. At this apiary, the main flow should start in the next week or 10 days. By then, the colony will recover from the loss of bees that came with the package, and adult populations should quickly rise above 30,000 and will likely top 40,000 in time to capture a portion of the main flow. I like to pull my first honey supers around July 1st, which separates the lighter spring honey from the richer summer flow, and is when you should expect the next video in this series. For now, thank you for watching to the end. If you live in Nebraska and are interested in purchasing an Anel insulated hive system, please visit my website, www.countryroadbees.com. If you live elsewhere, please visit southeastbee.com to find a dealer near you. See you next time.